Hello everybody, Tracy Sizemore here, RPG A Day 2018, Day 13. The question of the day is describe how your play has evolved. So, I think RPGs are a complex endeavor, meaning there is no one way to play, there is no one reason to play, and therefore people come into it with different desires and motivations and reasons, and what they hope to get out of it is different depending on who you are. Some people just want to roll dice and kill monsters. Some people want to inhabit a character and expand their outlook on things, you know. Some people want to do both those things. Some people want to do a combination of other things. RPGs allows for all that, and therefore it is a complex endeavor. Just like music or writing or art or anything else like that, you can't really master RPGs. Just like you can't really master what it is to write a novel or draw a picture, you know. So I think of RPGs in terms of leveling up. So as I began playing them, and I've been playing them for, I don't know, 39 years, 38 years or so, somewhere in there. Started with Tunnels and Trolls, graduated to Champions, then I went to college and stopped and came back to it a few years ago, several years ago now, and have been leveling up ever since. Now some people have a talent for RPGs. When they sit at a table for the first time, they have this natural instinct to understand what the experience is about and how they might engage with that experience. So they're starting at maybe a little bit of a higher level than some other people. But I think, and people, just like everything else, people have a talent for it. Some people have to work a little bit more at it, and that's perfectly cool. It's accessible to everybody. And for me, it takes time to level up. And I know this. And even though when I came back into RPGs several years ago, I started to GM, and it was painful. It was uncomfortable. It was hard. But I knew, because I was old enough to know this, that change and development don't happen overnight. And so I started at level 5, and over the next couple of years of GMing, I leveled up incrementally as I went. And now I'm much better than I was before. Much, much better. But I kept at it, right? That's how I view RPGs, and that's sort of the basis of this answer, the context of this answer. And I think, how has my play evolved? Well, one thing that I used to do, and that I still do, this is part of who I am as a player, is that I used to be very, very shy as a player. I used to be very worried about sticking my nose into situations and making a big change or doing something big, because I would worry about ruining the ability of others to do something. I would worry about ruining the GM's plan for what they wanted to do. And so I felt that my role as a player was confined to a certain boundary. And I was scared to speak up and risk doing something that would put my character at risk, or put other people in uncomfortable situations, or put the GM in a situation where they are having to deal with my actions in a way that they did not expect. So I would be a little shy about doing that. The thing is, I still am a little shy about doing that, and I constantly work myself up to try to overcome some of that. And partially, that's why I GM too. But that I'll get back to. In the meantime, my evolution as a player has started with me being very shy, quiet at the table. Now I'm much more proactive at the table and very much more willing to do things that I wasn't able to do before, and willing to do them in a way that hopefully will make it easier on GMs and easier on players because I am doing things. Now, the evolution of an RPG player doesn't necessarily have to go in that direction. You don't necessarily have to start out shy with ambitions to becoming more proactive. That's not how RPGs work. RPGs are a complex endeavor. If that's the track that you want to go, great. But there is also nothing wrong with one of those shyer players. There's nothing wrong with that. And some people are shy, and this is one of those things that you learn as a GM. Some people are going to be quiet at the table. Some people are going to seem like they're not engaging as much. But a lot of times they're having just as much fun as the most gregarious player at the table. And some people who are very proactive and gregarious at the table could stand to evolve into a more accommodating player, somebody who is more like I was when I started, which is try to work within a boundary. Because some people go off and really go crazy in insane directions, and that's not always a good thing. I mean, you can say, yes, you can do whatever you want as a player agency, power to the people, but if you're really going off the track, that power to the people and that player agency can become a liability. So, I don't know. I'm losing the track of the question. How have I evolved as a player? I guess my point is that the evolution of playing RPGs is different for everybody. And so my personal evolution started from a place of shyness and fear. Because I am a fearful person, and I've worked very, very hard to overcome that. I'm also a very controlling person, meaning that I like to have control over the elements of my life, right? RPGs break you out of that. That's part of what they do. Part of what RPGs do, for me, in my particular case, is help me release some of that control. Help me release some of that fear that I have, and to actually be proactive and do things. And this is not only translated into the play at the table, it's also translated into my adventurous moving into LARPing and in life in general. It's made me more outgoing with other people and willing to risk interacting with them more and doing things, release some of that control that I have, that need to have everything sort of in its place. Now, I'm still a little bit that way. I mean, I'm not going to change my entire personality, but RPGs sort of force you to give up some of that control. And I think that's a good thing. At least for me it is. So, my evolution, that's sort of how my evolution went as a player. And then I decided I really need to GM. I want to GM. And GMing is a whole different animal in terms of your interaction with the hobby. Because all of a sudden, I have to be the one who is proactively making crazy things happen. And that is freeing. That is absolutely liberating. I, as a GM, can play characters that I would never get away with playing as a player. Or I don't feel like I would get away with them playing as a player. At the very least, I feel more comfortable playing them as a GM than I do as a player. Because they are disruptive, crazy, right? They have very strong personalities that if I played them as a player, could overtake the table. But as a GM, it's different. And it's liberating, it's fun to play characters as a GM that you really, you would want to think twice about playing as a player. I also enjoy the challenge of playing different characters and finding the particular characteristics and foibles that make that character unique. It's easier for me as a GM to do that than as a player. So and being a GM, and leveling up as a GM, again, teaches you to release control. Some people become GMs because they want to have control. But I would submit, at least for me, that leveling up as a GM is an exercise in releasing that control. And it's valuable, super valuable, both within the game and outside the game. It's also, part of also leveling up as a GM is engaging everything that you know about life, everything that you have learned in your lifetime, and distilling it down to and incorporating those skills into your GMing. It's fascinating who you are and what you have learned and the sum of your experiences inform how you run and design a game, and how useful your life experiences are to the hobby of role-playing. So, leveling up as a GM is learning how to take those life experiences and use them in your gaming. Learning how to take your people skills and the ability that you may have to interact with others, understand others, your intuition about others, your ability to persuade other people, all of those skills become invaluable in gaming. And you can refine them and sharpen those skills through gaming as well. So, my evolution as an RPG player it's been a give and take between playing and involving myself in this hobby and using those skills in real life, like being more brave around people, having less need to be in control of situations, bringing that out to the real world, and at the same time taking all the life skills that I have learned in 46 years and bringing those into my GMing. I don't know. I'm yammering on, but this is one of those philosophical questions and esoteric questions, and it's kind of one of those questions that's worth getting around with your friends and having a beer and talking about, because it can engender fascinating discussion about life and who people are and what is important to you. And to me, that's the most fascinating part of living on this earth to begin with, is understanding and interacting with other people. So, that's how I've evolved as a player and my philosophy of how that works. And I'll leave it at that. So I will talk to you tomorrow.